Welcome to Hypnosis for Spiritual Awakening and Healers. Types of Inductions. Take this complete course at the Past Life Awakening Institute. It's a free 3-hour course. Click the links in the description. There are many ways of inducing a hypnotic state to get to many variations of levels of hypnosis and regression. In this course, we will focus on direct, intentional, and formal methods. So this is typically what's used by past life regression therapy professionals, though it's interesting that there are quite a few variations, so you do have some flexibility and some choice. So I'll go through these types now. For hypnotic inductions, we can have formal inductions that use direct techniques. These generally allow a quicker and deeper level of hypnosis with the explicit agreement and consent of the client. We're going to use formal inductions in the inductions section of this course. Conversational inductions use indirect language patterns. This is generally a slower method to get to a lighter level of hypnosis. It doesn't necessarily ask for explicit agreement or consent. We'll use conversational hypnosis in this course implicitly, especially during our pre-talk stories and interview questions. Intentional inductions. This is a kind of a counterpoint to the fact that some inductions can be spontaneous. So our inductions in this course will be intentional, and they'll have an intention of accessing and regressing to this life and a past life. This emphasizes that the set intention behind an action is as important as the action. Now, in terms of inductions to a past life, sometimes these are non-intentional. So as a hypnotherapist, we may intend to use age regression to go back to a cause of their issue, but we may unintentionally regress them to a past life by using unclear or ambiguous language. So if we say to the client, go back to a time in the past that is causative to your issue, we may expect them to go back to childhood in this life, but since we didn't say specifically go back to a time in childhood in this life, some clients can just go back to the earlier time, which happens to be in a past life. So a hypnotherapist may be concerned that we have to do a much deeper level of hypnosis to get from an easy this life to a difficult past life, where in fact a simple change of language and a vague intention can actually be all that we need to go back to a past life. The sub or superconscious mind can be quite literal in its response to questions, so we need to remain mindful and almost surgical in our use of language. So this is one reason I recommend studying neuro-linguistic programming for therapists. If it's something you haven't already studied, it has a lot of implicit use in the way that we use language. It makes our language patterns that are often subconscious conscious. In this case, the wise superconscious mind can seize upon any little linguistic slip, but it can take that opportunity to give us what we need, not necessarily what we meant or what we thought that we asked for. Non-hypnotic inductions can happen unintentionally, and that can be with conventional therapists. So it's fairly common for a therapist, like a psychologist, to be working with the emotional life of a client, to be discussing their past, and to find that in doing that, they trigger a cathartic release, an abreaction. It can be called an effect bridge, and we'll come to that later in the course. These non-intentional inductions can start to happen even in the process of an interview, and if you're a therapist that thinks that they don't work with hypnosis, but you are asking them to recall memories and talk about emotions, and then they start enhancing their memory or connecting more strongly with emotion, then I would say this is, in a sense, an informal hypnotic induction. So I call these non-hypnotic inductions because they don't fit all the criteria of a hypnotic induction, but they certainly include some of them. So if you feel that you're a therapist in another area and hypnosis is all new to you, you may be surprised how much hypnotic work you've already been doing with your clients, and that may be why you're here, to extend and formalize that understanding and utilization of what already naturally happens. Another reason other therapists can come to this course is because their client can bring up some things. They may then instantly try and suppress them or feel unsafe to tell you about it. You may find that some of your clients have already accessed some past life recall. It's come up, but then they've pushed it back down again because their critical conscious barrier has said that's not okay, that's wrong. You may find that you've already been able to trigger that in some of your clients, and now you can go with it. Another non-hypnotic induction, or without a formal hypnotic induction, can come when people get a sense of deja vu in their dreams, or just as they're waking up or going to sleep, while they're doing yoga and savasana, or while they're meditating. Oftentimes, that can be very similar to a hypnotic state and can allow them to spontaneously access past life memories. So they don't have to go through a formal, intentional, direct hypnotic experience to still be able to access past life memories. Now, this can be spontaneous and short-lived. So we don't want to wait around for a convenient time when they happen to spontaneously go into something short-lived. We want to be able to create it when we want it and to extend it and have it to be deep and for a lengthy amount of time. The important thing to note here is that even with these non-intentional inductions, it can give us a belief which says, on one hand, we might have a limiting belief, which is it's really hard to do hypnosis, that's so deep that they go back into their past lives. Well, these other types of inductions show that it's actually really easy in a lot of situations to get into hypnosis, to regress, and to recall past lives without even really trying. So a lot of the times that thought gets in the way, that it's difficult. If we can release that limiting belief because it's simply not really that true, and we can allow an empowering belief that all that we have to do is get out of our own way, and we can access the ability to experience hypnosis and recall past lives that is inherently within us if we allow it. Take this complete course at the Past Life Awakening Institute to get the downloadable manual, assignments, and script book, and to gain a certificate of completion. The manual covers what we're going to go through in the videos. The script book is only the words that you'll say to the client in session. It's a free 3-hour course. Click the links in the description.